a mini-series on Tanakh and archaeology. He was Rosh Kollel in Washington, and currently teaches at Midrashet Harova and a tour guide.
Okay, I guess that's. Thank you. Thank you all for coming. So we just got back this July. We were in Washington, D.C., or Silver Spring, Felberman Academy, and living in Potomac for the last 2 years. I have to shout out to some of my Talmidim who actually made it here this morning, Yasher Koach. But that's, I guess, goes back to the this idea of Torah Mitzion. It's a good publicity, I guess. But that it sets up a kesher. And now that the boys are here this year, and we have some of the women folk, also ladies who are in Midrashot, and the kesher, the connection continues. So it's a very special program. Last 2 years are really great. So, my name is Baruch Felberman again. Elise says, my wife. We live in Sha'alabin, No Fai Alone. Anybody's heard of it? And, as Daniela mentioned, I teach in the different programs in Yerushalayim, in Midrashot and Yeshivot, and I'm also a tour guide, and that just brings a combination of the two of what we're going to be accomplishing today, hopefully. And I hope to study a little bit of a Parsha in Tanakh. Afterwards, we'll travel around the country a little bit, hopefully explain that Parsha in a different fashion, and that should be fun. I think a lot of the people here are Olim from Chutz La'aretz. Is that correct? Can I assume? So we all have this love for Eretz Yisrael. So just to sit back and start off your day with traveling around the country, usually something that's very special. Okay, and here we go. All right, let us begin. All right, can we shut the lights maybe, or the front lights? Here they are.
No, the lights are they're all back there, but it's better to keep the lights on.
No, it's not.
Like just the front at least, so you could. There you go. All righty. No, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're fair. All righty. So I've just to get us all on the same page. I'm just starting from the very beginning. So the Jewish people come into Eretz Yisrael. And again, if there's something I over-explain or under-explain, please let me know. So we're coming into Eretz Yisrael, and the 12 tribes all settle in. I happen to like this map, actually, for one reason.
Sure.
You see what they do with Menashe. Hatzi Shevet Menashe, who's out over, like, basically keeping guard on Reuven and Gad. So Moshe Rabbeinu puts half of Menashe on the other side of the Jordan. So they put them together, across from each other. It's one big family, so it's kind of nice that they put them in the center of the country. What is missing? Anybody? What's missing from the map? The Golan, the Bashan. So over here we should have, right over here, Shevet Dan should come in right about over here. So, okay, but the point is that we come into Eretz Yisrael, and we're actually able to put together the whole, we put together the Shvatim under the leadership of Shaul, and then after David HaMelech, and then afterwards we peek out during the time of Shlomo HaMelech, in which his empire is going to head up over into Jordan, a little bit of Lebanon, heading all the way up to the Nahar Prat, the Euphrates, and we're taking Syria. This is part of biblical Israel. So this is what it looks like during the time of Shlomo HaMelech. Great. And as we know, right after Shlomo HaMelech, unfortunately things that are good don't last that long, and we're going to have to split up the country, splits into two. We have Malchut Yehuda, that's going to continue under Rechavam, and then Malchut Yisrael, which is going to continue under Yeravam ben Nevat. And that's how we start our story. Okay, that was just the background.
Side question? Can I ask a question?
Sure.
On the previous map that we had,
Yeah.
right, where you see the whole area was part of Inyan of Truma Damasa? The whole area?
That's already, I don't know. That's a different topic already. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what would have been during the time of Shlomo. And then it gets, even more so, it gets confusing afterwards. Like, certain areas were left out. That's the Mishnayos, that they leave out certain areas from having to give. So it's a study in its own right. I don't know. Good question. I don't know. All right. So here we go. The same players as usual are over here. We're going to have Moab, Ammon, Aram. Now during the time, we're going to skip about 100 years, in the middle of the 800s BCE, and Malchut Moab is actually paying their taxes, tribute to Achav, Melech Achav. What do we know about Achav? Really evil, married to Isabel, yeah, they're not, but he's a very strong ruler, and he also is very concerned. This is one thing to his credit. He's very concerned for the honor of the Jewish people. At that time period, Moab is actually is in servitude to Achav. Once Achav dies and his sons take over, Moab rebels. They have an opportunity, and they're going to stop paying their taxes, and that's where we pick up our story. So let's begin. I just put this on again. Here we got Yisrael. We're going to have over here Moab, and this is Edom. Now what I want to show you, obviously this is going to be, or not obviously, on the map, this is going to be the Dead Sea. Right? You can always tell the Kinneret, you have the Jordan going down like that, and this is going to be the Dead Sea. And what the natural border that we're going to talk about between Moab and Edom is what's called Nachal Zered. That's Nachal Zered. We'll take a look at it a little bit later on. It's like a Nachal. You've been traveling around the country. There's a lot of places that we have. We call it a Wadi in Arabic. But you'll have like a gap in the mountains. And that makes the natural border in between Moab and Edom. And that's going to be part of the story. So let's begin our story. And actually that's where the beginning of the shir is. So I have different psukim. I'm going to hit towards the English. But if you want, you can read along in the Hebrew. So, it's when Achav dies that the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. Now, King Yehoram is one of the sons, the second son of Achav, went out of Samaria, the capital of Malchut Yisrael, on that day and counted all Israel. And he went and he called Yehoshaphat, king of Judah. Now, Yehoram, unfortunately, is walking in the footsteps of his parents. He's not a great guy. But Yehoshaphat is a melech in Yehuda, and he's a tzaddik, he's good. He's actually a Shomer Torah mitzvot. It's a time, though, that's what's good about this, that there is some sort of a peace between Malchut Yisrael and Malchut Yehuda. So he goes and calls on Yehoshaphat, king of Judah, saying, the king of Moab has rebelled against me. Will you go with me to war against Moab? So Yehoshaphat answers, I will go up, I will be like you, my people like your people, my horses like your horses. We'll band together and we'll put down the rebellion.
What was in it for him?
Oh, that's a good question. So you tell me, like, what's in it for him? A lot of things is open for discussion. I have a couple of questions for you also. I don't have an answer necessarily. Taxes, maybe he feels that if Moab goes, then who else? You want to contain your enemies who are on the eastern flank. Could be. It's not Mefurish in the Nach. What happened? Why would Yehoshaphat do it? What's in it for him? Why should he put people on the edge? But I got a feeling that it has to do with that. If you have a strong albeit that's Malchut Yehuda and Malchut Yisrael, but if they're viewed as being the Jewish people and it's a strong, united people, that gives us a lot of strength against our enemies. That's what I'm assuming. Okay? Okay. So this is what happens. They say, and he said, by which road shall we go up? And he said, by the way of the desert of Edom. Okay? So what they're going to do actually also is that Malchut Yisrael and Malchut Yehuda, right? Yehoram, Yehoshaphat, they're going to band together and they're going to pick up the king of Edom as being a third piece of the battle. They're the third army in the battle against Moab. Now they say, how are we going to do battle? Where would you attack from? Yerushalayim, here's Yericho. You would think that the natural place to attack from is going to be where? If you just meet up at the border and then you head straight over into Moab, that would be your natural spot to battle from. Instead, they said, let's go by the way of the desert of Edom. That's right over here. They're going to pick up Edom and then attack from the south. This is another question. Anybody have any? I've heard a lot of different answers. They're very good, some of them. Anybody? Why would you do that? Why would you go out of the way?
Surprise.
What? Surprise and what?
They're going to get onto a plateau above the Dead Sea. Maybe it's easier from the south. Okay, so maybe it's easier.
There's a wadi at the top of Kingdom of Moab.
Excuse me?
There's a big wadi at the top of Kingdom of Moab as well.
It could be. So there's two answers. One is the element of surprise, which you could see maybe in the Psukim, they do surprise them. That they're going to swing around like this and then surprise them from the south. I would assume Moab is assuming they're rebelling against Malchut Yisrael. They're probably assuming Malchut Yisrael is going to attack them. They don't even know that Malchut Yisrael is going to connect up with Malchut Yehuda. So I think the element of surprise. Now, as far as where to battle from, topographically, I'm not sure that this is going to be better for you necessarily, because there's a big vadi right over here, which is the natural border. What else? What do we know about this area? People have been visiting, the Dead Sea area, right? We're going to come there and see it. If you visit the Dead Sea area, what do you have as far as water? It's salty water. It's not drinkable. It's not that much water down there, right? This is a problem. You're setting up supply chains that has to come all the way around and feed your army down here. It's a little bit challenging. Besides the fact, if you think about it, if you go down towards Yericho, this whole area, what do we call it? The area between the Dead Sea and the Jordan and the Kinneret. This is known as Bikat HaYarden, the Jordan River Valley. There's a valley over. This is also known as, because this is Moab, and the plains that you find, there are mountains over here. Har Nevo is going to be right over here, where Moshe is buried. But this whole area, the plains of Moab, which also includes Yericho, is known in the Torah as Arvot Moab. Yeah. So it's not bad. You can set up over here. It's kind of flat. I'm not sure topographically if this is going to give you anything better. But I know at this point I think the element of surprise sounds good. But again, this is not written in the Nach, and it's up to you. You guys can suggest whatever you want on this. All my questions always, well, that's not true. I was going to say they always have right answers. But anyway, and it was, at least around the Shabbos table with my kids when they were growing up, well, I made sure my questions couldn't be wrong. I don't know if that helped, but okay. So what happens then? This is very cool. It's a little bit small, sorry. And it was that when Achav died, we did that. And they said, let's go by the way of the desert of Edom. And look what happens. And the king of Israel and the king of Judah and the king of Edom went. And they went around a journey of 7 days. And there was no water for the camp or for the animals that were with them. Doesn't say why. We don't know what happened. They overestimated, maybe they didn't find as much water as they thought they could find in the desert. It's not explained over here. It's not really so important to us. Obviously the Tanakh is not primarily historical, but we learn from it. So that's a good question, exactly. But b'chol ofen, it didn't work. The supply trains were maybe it wasn't working well. They run out of water, and therefore the king of Israel says, alas, for the Lord has called these 3 kings to deliver them into the hands of Moab. Okay, that's his approach. However, Yehoshaphat, who's a tzaddik, says the following. Vayomer Yehoshaphat, and this is like in our vernacular. Ha'ein po navi la Hashem? What, we don't have a navi? Let's go ask. Nidrashat Hashem me'oto. Let's ask the Kadosh Baruch Hu what we should do. Vayanech habi abdei melech Yisrael vayomer po. Po Elisha ben Shaphat asher yitzak mayim al yedei Eliyahu. So Elisha's nearby. We could ask him what to do. Vayomer Yehoshaphat yesh oto dvar Hashem ito oto dvar Hashem vayidu elav melech Yisrael v'Yehoshaphat melech Edom. So 3 kings come to Elisha, and now Elisha says al melech Yisrael mali v'lach. Right? He says it's appropriate, right? Elisha's going to turn to Yehoram from Malchut Yisrael, who is the son of Achav and Izebel. And what do we know about Achav and Izebel? Who did they worship? The Baal, Nevi'ah, Baal, Har Carmel, and Eliyahu. Vayomer Elisha Melech Yisrael Mali V'lach. What do I have to do? What are you coming to me for? Lech el Nevi'eh Avicha vel Nevi'eh Emecha. All right, you got the Baal over there. Why are you coming to the Jewish Navi? Vayomer lo Melech Yisrael ki kara Hashem l'shloshtam lechem ela teitotam biyad Moab. So what are we going to do? Vayomer Elisha. So Elisha says back like this: Chai Hashem tzivkot shemati lefanav ki lulei pnei Yehoshaphat melech Yehuda. If it wouldn't be that Yehoshaphat the tzaddik is over here, I need no say mabit elecha b'meraka. I wouldn't even look at you. But being that Elisha's over here, being that Yehoshaphat is over here, I'll tell you what's going to happen. Vayomer, and he said, Vayomer, he said, huh?
You should be able to focus.
Focus it. I'll just read it loud, man. I don't know if they do. So. All right, we'll see. As long as the pictures aren't focused, we'll see. And he said, so as the Lord said, the valley will be made full of pools. Vayomer kol amar Hashem, aseh hanacha hazeh gevim. You'll have your water. Because the valley, the gevim, is going to be filled with water. Okay? Do you know what a gev is? If you're out in the Midbar Yehuda, the upper parts of the Negev, here, there's a gev. Does that look familiar? Anybody who's walked around the Midbar Yehuda? In other words, when you have water, when you have rain in the wintertime, whenever rain does fall in the northern Negev or Midbar Yehuda, it fills up these holes in the ground. Now the rain stops, and through the summertime also, the water is still there. That's how the animals live. Right after Pesach, it's a lot of fun. As you come in towards the end of the summer and Sukkot, and you're still doing tours on Sukkot, they start turning green. Correct? Where's our Shnat Sheirut would know that. It starts green, and then you see who's brave enough to go into them anyway, and who's not. So this is what Gevim look like. Right? We're out in the middle of the desert. Right? This over here, I'm not sure where these are from, but you could see that there's like, everything's dry, but you have water still in the middle of the desert. And this is a Gev. Okay? So Elisha says these are going to fill up with water. Maybe the armies thought there was water over there, and they didn't have enough. We're not sure what happened, but Elisha says, don't worry, the Gevim are going to fill up with water. How are they going to fill up with water? And here's the story. For so has the Lord said, you shall not see wind, neither shall you see rain. Yet that valley will be filled with water, and you and your cattle and your beasts shall drink. And this will be slight in the eyes of the Lord, and he'll deliver Moab into your hands. So when I read something like this, what comes to your mind? How do you imagine it? You shall not see wind, neither shall you see rain. It's not going to be rain, but the valley will be filled with water. Nice, right? All of a sudden, groundwater. So all of a sudden, it's going to be a nace. You'll wake up tomorrow morning, don't worry about it. All of a sudden, boom, the water's going to be there. So says Mitzvah David, this is how I grew up, on this pasuk, you shall not see wind, saying the water will not arrive in a natural way by wind and rain, rather it will arrive by miracle. Okay, that's how I grew up, really, and that's how I learned this parsha. But it might be another suggestion to it, because now, Baruch Hashem, we've come back to Eretz Yisrael. And it's fun to be in a room like this, because all of us here have come back to Eretz Yisrael, literally, at different points in our life. And as we travel around the land, get to know our land and understand it well. Today it's going to be primarily archaeology and topography that's going to help us how the land itself works. So maybe we'll have another understanding of what exactly happened in this miracle. So the end of the story just is the following, and then we'll get into explaining it. The end of the story goes like this. And all the Moabites heard that the kings had come up to wage war with them. So the Moabites, it seems that they figure it out when they see the three armies on their border. That's why we were talking a second ago. Maybe it was a way of surprise. And they assembled everyone old enough to gird a sword and older. And they stood at the border. And they arose early in the morning when the sun shone on the water. And the Moabites saw the water from a distance, red as blood. And they said, this is blood. The kings have fought with each other and have killed each other, and now to the spoils Moab. Why is it red as blood? Why does it look to them reddish? Rashi, such is the nature of water when the sun shines on it in the morning. It appears red at a distance. Now, since they had never seen water in that valley, they therefore thought that it was blood. Interesting. That's the way things pan out. Now you can imagine this is like in the movies, this would be perfect. What happens next is that Moab, what do? Now to the spoils Moab. So everybody in a craze to get the spoils. They throw down their weapons, they throw down their shields, they start running into the camp, and all the Israelites are sitting there eating their cornflakes, and you can imagine this in the movies they put it, that the enemy comes in and like their jaws drop, and that's the end. Right? And that's what actually happens. And they came to the Israelite camp, and the Israelites arose and struck the Moabites, and they fled from before them, and they attacked them and slew the Moabites. Okay? Sort of the beginning of the end of the story. It continues a little bit afterwards. But that's what's happening. So we're going to have to try to understand possibly what's another explanation of what happened over here. And to do so, we're going to have to travel around the country, and our first stop is going to be Masada. Yeah, people know the mountain of Masada. Masada, when is it? We always think about Herod. We'll get to him. Who founds Masada? What's Masada? Is actually founded by the Hasmoneans, Hashmonaim, as a fortress. It's meant to be a fortress. Why? Because every king, self-respecting king, is going to have a place to run when they try. Most kings do not die in their sickbed. Most kings are taken out. In fact, it does act as a fortress early on for Herod. Herod, he actually does run. There is an attempt upon him, on his life, and he runs over here and he stays on the top of Masada until he sneaks out, gets to Rome, and then comes back with his with the legion, with whatever troops they give him, and then the rest is history. But this actually starts out as a fortress. Why is this the place that they picked to be a fortress? Well, you take a look at it. Straight up, right? And where is it exactly? It's over here. Masada is in this area, the Dead Sea. It's in the area we were talking about, over here, Moab and Edom. So it's in this area. But look at it. We're looking at it now from the south, right? Looking at the south. Look at this mountain. What makes it such a great fortress?
It's flat.
It's flat on top.
From the west.
This is over here. This is the west, the south. It's not connected. We're looking from the south now. It's not connected to anything. It stands by its. I'm on the south looking north. Right. I'm on the south looking north. Okay, the southern side. This is the southern side. Let's go around the mountain. Do I have it? Here we are now, the southern side of the mountain. This is going to be the eastern side of the mountain. It's a standalone mountain. It's cliffs. So it means that if it's cliffs, again, this is going to be the western side. Forget about this whole thing here. This over here is going to take us into the story of Masada and the Romans and the whole later story. We're talking about during the first temple, so this is going to be a sheer cliff going down as well. Stands by itself, and somebody also mentioned it's flat. Why is that important for me that it's flat? Let me see what we got here. Oh, first of all, let's talk about the only way up to Masada is snake path. Anybody here in the last 40 years? I'm not going to say 40 years done the snake path? Kala kavod. Wow. How long did it take you?
68.
Wow. I 3 years ago, was it? In the middle of COVID, I did this snake path with the boys of Yeshivat Shalabim. I think I made it to right about over here. And I said, as we started, I said, listen, the tour guide it's insurance reasons, I have to go in front of you. And we're plowing up, and then these 18-year-olds, they're like, the Medrash calls them like Gedims, they're like mountain goats. So I said, you know what, fellas, you can't get lost. There's no place off the mountain. Just go ahead of me. And I huffed and puffed. Of course, it had nothing to do with my age. It was just because I was out of shape because of COVID. But you can't, there's no way up the mountain. It's the only way up the mountain. You have to go, why is it called the snake path? You see very clearly because it's so steep, so you have to run the path slant like this. It's the only place in the mountain where it's not very cliffy, so you can actually make a path. Meaning, if I get to this top of the mountain, if I'm a king running away, that's Herod, and I come here with my garrison of loyal men, meaning I gave them more gold, so that means what? I have 30 people with me. I could defend myself. Why? How do you keep the enemy could have thousands of men down here. How do I keep them off the mountain? As long as if you're good at bowling, no problem. I just, at the whole top of the mountain, chip away at it all day long, and you just roll it down on top of people. So that's why it's the perfect fortress. The problem would be that if they lay siege on me, what am I going to do? Again, this is from on top looking down. It's very easy. Very easy to defend yourself. This is the top of the mountain. What's important, if they lay siege on me, how am I going to be able to sustain myself? So obviously I've put some food up there, but look at this. Yeah, self-sustaining. Look at that. It's flat. I could grow things up there. It's amazing. What's going to be the challenge to grow something? Water. Where do I get my water from? Rain. So it only rains. This is an amazing thing. It only rains about 25 milliliters per year annually up in Masada. So what am I going to do? When it does rain, I'm going to set up a gutter system on the top of the mountain. And what's this hole over here? Right, the gutter is going to take the water, it's going to head it into the hole over here, and boom, that's an example, that's that hole. This is a water system that still remains from the times of the Hasmoneans. So I'll be able to have enough water to grow crops, I could be up there forever. And that's how it was during the time of the Hashmonaim. If we jump ahead 140 years or something like that, then what are we going to get to? We're going to get to to Herod. Herod is a Russia. Herod, you say Herod the Great. So what do we usually say? Herod the Great? Builder, right? Caesarea, Herodian, the cave of the matriarchs and patriarchs, Marat Machpelah. I mean, he's a great builder. It's based on Mikdash, obviously. Harabai is based on Mikdash. So he's a great builder, but we know he's a paranoid Russia. The evil person, he's killed so many people. Anyway, he gets this done, but look at what he does. He builds over here. This is crazy. Without what would we call them in Hebrew? It's Congo. Without a jackhammers, right? Without modern materials. But look, he's able to carve out the side of the mountain. Now we're on the northern side of the mountain. He carves out the mountain in order to build. This is the remnants. We still have leftovers from the castle that he builds over there. Let's see what we got here. This is what, if looking again, I'm looking now at the northern side of the mountain. This is where he places his castle. We still have the staircases going down. It's incredible. Now, if you have a little bit of an imagination, it's not so hard because I got the foundation till today. The foundations of these buildings are still there. So I just need an artist who knows a little bit about Roman architecture, just build up the buildings, and I can get something like this. Now, that's a nice place to come and visit. Herod said, I don't need a fortress. What do I need? What does Herod need for himself? He needs a house. He needs a 5-star hotel for all of his friends who are coming in from Rome to spend the winter in the sun of the Dead Sea. And of course, if anybody has psoriasis or something like that, they could go, or eczema, they could go down to the Dead Sea and cure themselves. It's unreal. So he makes a 5-star hotel. And this is what Herod has. He has the palace over here. He also has, we got about 29 of these. These are storage rooms. He has everything down there. They have found the vats, obviously with chemical analysis, the best of wines. He's got stuff coming in from Italy. I think I heard this in the course that he even has fish eggs? What's that called? Caviar.
Yeah.
Right? He's got it all over here. He's running a palace. He's running a 5-star hotel. Again, these are the storage houses that you have. Storage houses, for the most part, are still, a lot of them, again, we find the base. What happened to nobody lives around here. What happened to all the buildings of Masada? Earthquakes. Some other time we'll talk about it, maybe Syrian-African rift. But you have earthquakes over here. So everything is still there. Everything's made out of stone. It's just that with the earthquakes over the years, they fell over. So the archaeologists, all they had to do is come and pick up the stones and put them back up on top. Like here you see a little bit of a line. This line designates from below it is what the archaeologists found. Above it is what they put back up. It's pretty easy. So we have all of this. It's incredible what he was running up there. Anybody? Take a guess. You guys can't answer. What is it? What is it that we have over here? Huh? It looks interesting. Imagine this thing. Put plaster on it. Put some ceramics down on the bottom, and you have yourself an Olympic-sized pool. Believe it or not. Olympic-sized pool? What are you kidding me? What, are they swimming in salt water? Like what? Where are you going to get the water to have a pool? And that's not the only thing. What do we have over here? This is a model of a good old-fashioned, one of the best well-preserved Roman bathhouses from the ancient times. One that's most well-preserved in the world. One of them. You have in Beit Shan a little bit. It's not well-preserved. This is well-preserved. We'll see in a second. A bathhouse, a Roman bathhouse is going to actually, you come in, you have a courtyard that's open where you can do some good solid wrestling. Obviously the wrestling will lead to the Olympics, but the wrestling in those days are done unclothed because of, we got it from the Greeks, or the Romans got it from the Greeks, that what? The reveling in the human body, and would land us right smack into Hanukkah. In other words, you look at the human body and the human achievement and sort of push God out. Or you look at the achievements of man to help us be able to reach a Kadosh Baruch Hu, that's going to get you right into Hanukkah story. But I could wrestle over here, and then afterwards walk in over here. Here's a changing room. I got a cold pool, I got a warm, and then I got the sauna. All right, that's what we have. What's this called? A frigidarium, a tepidarium, and a coldarium. So I'm going to go inside. Let's just travel around. It's an old slide. Here I'm in the sauna. Look at this thing. This is why I'm saying so well preserved. You don't have this because nobody was up on Masada to carter the stones for secondary use. And it's nice and warm and dry over there. So the thing lasted for 2,000 years. What does I have over here? The platform is this is where the floor would have been, and it's held up on stilts. Why? Because at this place over here outside, you'd have a fire. You got billows that are shooting hot air in. That's like circling around underneath the floor. Everything's nice and warm. And I could submerge a couple of pots of tubs of water here and there. It'll steam up, and this whole thing becomes a sauna. Fantastic. Okay, that needs a lot of water as well. The tepidarium, the different pools, they all need a lot of water. So where's he getting all that water from? What's really cool about this, usually whenever we built back in those days, they didn't have long beams, that long of a beam to really make a very wide house. When you want to expand, you want to make a large house and have a roof that's going to be across an expanse. Well, how did you build? Arches, yeah. You always have arches. And this one also, there's arches in here. This is arched over. And not only that, here you can see where the archaeologists, they found all this. Here's the line in which above it is what the archaeologists put up. This one over here, I have to go back and take my own picture. I couldn't get the top of it circular. For a sauna, that's fantastic. You need that for a sauna. Why? Let me just check the time. We need that for the sauna. How come? This is like, again, I don't know if we all remember going to summer camp, but my students over here do. And don't answer this, but you ever have in summer camp, remember when I was in camp, they used to have, like in the back, there was these, they're made out of aluminum, these shower stalls. Does that sound familiar? They're very, very wimpy. And the worst thing is if taking a shower that somebody comes with a Negelwasser cup and like tosses over the top. Nobody ever has done that, right? Okay, but you guys have never done that, right? All right, so the worst thing is if you have a flat ceiling, right, cross, so the water is coming up, condenses along the top, what's going to happen? Falls down. The worst thing is if you're sitting in the sauna and all, and you drip on your head. Worst thing. What do you do? And if it's circular on top, where's the water going to go? It's right. It's going to go right. Slides all the way up. The water, the evaporated water, the steam's going to go up to as high as it gets, condense over here in the middle, and then drip in the middle. Fantastic. He's got a 5-star hotel going on, but he needs a lot of water for this. And where's he going to get that water? All right. We do have a picture of it. Okay, great. Seder. Alrighty, there's actually, the Gemara tells us, obviously if this is not built well, then the floor breaks. You're kind of cooked. The Gemara tells us in Maseches Brachos, I forget who it was, that in his town it wasn't built so well, and every time he came out of the bathhouse, he used to bench a gomel, because it wasn't a given. You gotta make it out. Believe it or not, I mean, it's Gemara. Okay, this is it. Let's keep going along. Alright, so in order for us to do that, we're going to jump to another place. Anybody recognize this slide over here? This place. Beautiful, huh? Big city down below. But I'm looking at the desert. Huh? Mitzpeh Yericho. This gives it away, right? Right, Mitzpeh Yericho. What's amazing is how far is Mitzpeh Yericho out of Yerushalayim? 20 minutes tops, right? So I'm right next to Yerushalayim. It rains in Yerushalayim. What happened over here? It's all desert already. That's something that we have to understand. Here we're at Mitzpeh Yericho below us, right? This is going to be the Jordan River, and this is the hills of Moab, Harei Moab, Har Nevo, Seder. So here's the thing. This is how it works in Eretz Yisrael, and you guys will recognize this. Where's my water coming from? Remember, how's it work from high school? Evaporation, condensation brings about the cloud formation, and it comes in. And I had this thing called a record when I was younger of weather songs, and I get it. It comes in handy. I have evaporation in the Mediterranean, and then it comes in and it hits. We have the spine of mountain in the middle of the country. Here, topographic map. Got a sign for you guys. I got a spine of mountains right in the middle of the country, like that. Yerushalayim, Shechem, Beersheba. That's where the Avos, Derech Avos, is the top. So the evaporation comes in, and it's going to start as it hits the coastal plain. It starts moving upwards, and it's going to start climbing up to the hills. Yerushalayim is about 800 meters above sea level. So when the water that's coming, the precipitation and the moisture that's coming in from the sea hits the mountains, it comes up. When it goes upwards in altitude, it gets colder. As it gets colder, therefore it condenses. And once it condenses, then the rain's starting to come down. The rain is coming down all along the way. A lot of rain comes down in the hills of Yerushalayim, but once it gets over the hills, most of it is over. Yeah. You leave Yerushalayim, you get past like Yerushalayim a little bit. Beit Lechem on the other side, Beit Lechem, Anatot, where Yirmiyahu is from. These places, On the way to Mitzpeh to Ma'aleh Adumim, you still see a little bit of grass here and there. A little bit of water remains, but once you get to Mitzpeh Yerichel, there's no water left. And that's why you have Midbar Yehuda, the desert of Judah. It's right outside Yerushalayim, but it's called the Rain Shadow Desert. So that's what's going on over here. This is the rain shadow, and nothing's growing much over here. What does happen to the water that lands in Yerushalayim? Yerushalayim is made out of limestone. It's porous, has a lot of fissures in it. So some of it just sinks right into the mountains. Eventually, will come out the side of the mountain. For example, Ein Gedi. Ein Gedi is the water that landed in Yerushalayim, and I don't know how long, nobody knows how long it is, but years later it comes out the side as fresh water. Or the water is going to start running down towards the Mediterranean, or it's going to start running down towards, in the Wadis, it's going to run down towards the Dead Sea. Here's something, like think about this. You're at, let's see what's closest to here. Let's say I'm standing on Rehov Melech George, right next to the Great Synagogue. Okay, everybody got that? You guys are Yerushalmis. I'm on Melech George at the Great Synagogue. If I look towards the east, what street is it? Agron, right? Which direction's Agron? Down, up, down. It's going straight down towards, it's going to hit up with Nachal Kidron, Nachal Gehinom, will head down towards the Dead Sea. How about if I'm standing in your spot right there and then you turn 180, and now I'm looking at Ramban. What happens with Ramban? It's flat for a little bit and then goes downhill in the other direction, towards the east, straight towards the Mediterranean. Do the same thing. I'm on Rehov Melech George and I'm at the top of Ben Yehuda Street. Same thing. Ben Yehuda's this way. You walk a little bit. I got Rehov B'Tzalel and Rehov Agrippus. They're going the other way. Melech Yehuda, Melech George Street, and Derech Hebron, these are all part of what we call Derech Avot, the top of the mountains. Same thing with, that's Kfi Shishim nowadays. But that's where the water, so the water landing over here is going to either run down towards the Mediterranean or it's going to go run in this direction, hit some of the Nachal, the Wadis that you have along the sides of the mountain range, and it comes out as water towards the Dead Sea. So for example, I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure, you're traveling on Highway 90, you're heading down towards Ein Gedi, Masada, it's not raining on you. Right? But it is raining in Yerushalayim, and this is when you're on Kfish Tishim and you're right next to Ein Gedi. There you go. When it rains in Jerusalem, look at that. Look at that. You cross it, that you get stuck. You get stuck for a couple of hours. You have to wait till it stops raining in Yerushalayim and give it a little bit of time before the water stops. So it could be a good 2 hours. It pays just to turn around and go back. If you're stuck between Ein Gedi and Masad, then you should start, camping out. This is a friend of mine, family from Yerushalayim, Miriam Tekazina family. Her daughter, she sent it out. Okay, here's an example. All right, we're now in the Midbar Yehuda. Behind us over here are the hills of Yehuda, and the water's coming out exactly. It's coming out. It actually comes as a wall, which is why it becomes so dangerous when you have a flash flood. You don't see it, and the next thing you know, it's coming at you. And unfortunately, we know the tragedies that we've had. Okay. This is rated PG for intense moments. But nothing happens, don't worry. The dog will get out of the way. Go, go, go. This fellow, oh man. Oh, hold your breath. Shoot! Look at that. Amazing. Scary, amazing. When I was in yeshiva, I remember they took us in those days, everything, right? Hakol B'Seder, you ever say that, right? Remember that? So they took us as Shana Aleph kids to Vadi Kelt. And it rained in Yerushalayim, and luckily, Baruch Hashem, we were now in the bottom, we were a little bit above, and I saw a flash flood coming by, pushing boulders. We made it into St. George's Monastery. That's where we went in, into the courtyard. They had low doors. Our buddies from the yeshiva say, go in backwards, because, and they knew it, right? There was big crosses, and the doors are low, so that you have to bend over. It's very cool. This is in the Medrash also, right? When it's a Medrash about Avram coming into the palace of Paro, that the same idea. You have a Avodah Zarah, the doors are low, And for Avram, he didn't have to go in backwards. For Avram, the door shot up, and he went through. Based on Midrash, same thing with Yaakov. That's actually a pshat, that when Yaakov comes in, the same thing happens. Paro looks at this and goes, wait a second. I heard about you with the doors, but that's like 2 generations ago. How old are you? That's pshat, right? Paro asks, how old are you? But that's on the side. Look at this one. Just beautiful. The force of it. There's some people that when it rains in Yerushalayim, they know they have 2 hours to get to certain locations that they can watch the water flow. They're called shitfanot chasers. And they do this. Here. Okay, we get it. Let's do this one.
What's causing it to be like that?
It's just so much of an area, and there's such a force of water. So you got to take miles of mountain, and the water is just gathering through all the rivulets until it becomes it's just directed into singular vadiot, and that's what happens.
Also in the Arava, near Eilat.
Near Eilat, anywhere that you'll have that mountain, and comes off the side of the mountain. It's incredible. This one's the Nachal Chever. Look at this.
בוקר טוב, נחל חבר זורם בצורה מדהימה, ממש, והכל פה יפה וערפל, ממש ממליץ לבוא. והוא לפי דעתי גם יזרום בשעות הקרובות, כי יש פה עוד הרבה גשם שיורד.
He says, I mamlitz, that everyone should come down and take a look. It's going to be for a number of hours more because there's rain. When it rains, it's going to be like that till about 2 hours after the rain stops. That's how things work in this country. All right? If I go to Masada, what do we say about Masada? It's a standalone mountain, but we say it's at the tip, right? You have that ridge of mountains coming, spine of mountains in the middle of the country, and it's right off that spine of mountains towards the east, towards the Dead Sea. So this over here, this is Harei Yehuda. No, not in this case. That's a good question because the Golan is like that. You're right. But Masada is not. No.
So what's the formation that makes it stand? It looks like something from Montana or something.
Badlands. From Masada, by the way, it's a great night hike. From Masada, the foot of it, till you get to Highway 90, it's called, in English we call them Badlands. But it's all chewed up like that. It's a great tour when you have full moon. I don't know. That's geology. That's the way it is, this one. So if you come over here, what do you got? Let's take a look what happens on Masada. So if it's raining in Yerushalayim, what's going to happen on the sides, on the eastern side of Harei Yehuda? You're going to have water that comes off it. Not everything is as strong as that, what we saw in Nachal Chever, but take a look at this. Hold on. A friend of mine was on the mountain when it rained in Yerushalayim, and it's not. He was walking. You can see he has his phone. It's not great footage, but it gives us the idea. He's on the tip of Masad. That's going to be the breaking point. Look at this. You see, over here is where you sit coming from Arad. You see the satellite shone. You see these the flows of water, and it comes off the side of the mountain. It's not as strong as that one we saw, but this is enough water. This is water. It's going to head down towards the Dead Sea. That's coming off the western rim. I'm on Masada. I'm standing on Masada looking towards the west. So these are the hills of Judah, and the water that it rained in the hills of Judah, but it comes down towards the east, towards the Dead Sea, and it's coming off the mountain range. This is my friends, the breach point.
How do I get it onto the top of Masada?
Excuse me?
How do I get it to the top of Masada? I don't get it to the top.
Oh, good question. I'll show you in a second. Very, very nice. But yeah, you get the idea. You see there is water coming off. And now he's going to just take a look. I hope he pans a little bit towards the south. I'm not sure if he's going to. But there you go. You got a good view of it. Okay, that's my friend Alan Harari. And you can see it's on a phone. He's moving around. But the point there, he's panning a little bit towards the south. Here water's going to come out as well. So we got it. So now let's take a look at Masada again. All right, here's Masada. Right, here's the hills. This is the Judean hills. It's a standalone mountain, and the water's coming off this way. Some water's coming here, and it's going to just go down towards the Dead Sea. I got here, this is Nachal Masada. It's an area in between the southern tip of Masada and the mountain. Now, this is what Herod does. You ready? Can you imagine this back 2,000 years ago? What happens if I build a dam right over here? The water's coming out from here, hits the dam, and starts building up. Where's it going to head? It starts flowing along the side of the mountain, so it can head towards the Dead Sea. All I have to do is I could build aqueducts along the side of the mountain. As the water's running along, the aqueducts pick it up, channel the water into the side of the on the side of the mountain, and I just have to build cisterns on the side of the mountain. So all I need is one rainfall. I fill up all of those cisterns. Is that wild? Here, take a look. The side of the mountain of Masada. I got I have 8 of these cisterns that are cut into the mountain. I have these channels that are directing that rainwater, the flash flood water, along, and it just goes into this and fills them up. That is wild. That's an unbelievable engineer. Water's coming out, I got a dam over here, comes sliding across, goes into these channels, and I start filling in. Then, how do I get it to the top? So I have over here an extra donkey. It's like a snake trail, but it's for donkeys. It's a donkey trail that goes up the mount like that, and all day long you have donkeys going up and down with these huge vats on the side of on their sides. Wild. Yeah.
But it never rains on Masada. It rains on the side, and they take advantage of it.
There's enough coming out.
Yeah.
You can see it. There's enough.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And it's always raining in the hills of Judah.
Yeah.
So he's got plenty of water. Boom. Unbelievable, especially for 2,000 years ago.
Was this carved out or all natural?
Carved out. The dam was built, then these cisterns are carved out into the mountain. Wild, right? That's Masada. And I'll do this rather quickly, just keeping an eye on the clock. We're going to visit, what do we got? Where are we at now? Tel Beersheva. We're going to revisit Tel Beersheva either next time, which is I think in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks. So I'm not going to get into it in detail. You enter into the Tel. We'll talk about it in length then. You get in, you go past the gate. This is famous. There's a little bit of a well. Over here, 70 meters deep. They like to say this is where Avraham Avinu's at, Tel Beersheva. That's a discussion also. But anyway, what I do want to show you about the ancient city, again, first temple city, right, is that on the far end of it, you got on the side of this Tel, of this old city, you got a staircase that starts heading in over here. We'll do this quickly. And I'm going down. This is still already Canaanite. This is a Canaanite staircase going down, right? Going down, 20 meters down. Why? Because the Tel itself is 20 meters above its surroundings. So I have to go all the way down to ground level and then continue down some. All right? And I'm walking around inside. I think it holds about 700 cubic meters of water. And this is how they had their water, and there's enough water also to plant. Then they have a little bit of rain near Beersheba. 200 milliliters. That's why that's the capital of the Negev, even though it's pretty north. But underneath Beersheba, you're not going to have much growth. This is all, you walk around down here, you can still see the old plaster. Very cool. All right? And how come? How do they get water, though, into this? Very, very cool. If I'm on Tel Beersheba, and I'm looking at the city of Beersheba, so that means I'm looking north. It means on my right is going to be the hills of Judah, in other words, or Hebron. Right over here is the hills of Hebron. What happens when it rains in the hills of Hebron? It gathers, and the waters come running out of, this is Nachal Hebron. Over here is Nachal Beersheba, and over here is Nachal Hebron. And the water's running along over here. All I have to do is direct these waters. Here I came out from underneath, so I'm on ground level, and all along this side, this is going to be the eastern side, all along this hill, I got these guys, holes that go into the bottom of the mountain. Water comes by, fills up the underground reservoir, boom, plenty of water. It's amazing what they were able to do. This goes back to first temple. So the engineering that they were able to do is pretty impressive.
Who walked it?
This is who owned it. It was part of the kingdom of Yehuda. We'll get back to it because there's an event that might take place over here during Chizkiyahu's time. I want to talk about that in a couple of weeks from now. All right? So this is, no, but it was put there, this is municipality. Like this is owned. All right? Now, wait a second. So that's the same idea. You get it. Okay. So here's the suggestion for you. All right? I'm going to tell you a suggestion, and you'll see it sounds a little bit modern, but we'll see. Yeah.
How much of the rainfall do you think goes into the aquifers?
Oh, I don't know. I could look it up for you. I don't know. The aquifer, I don't know.
And it can't all just be runoff. It's got to
No, for sure not. So I mentioned that Hare Yehuda, Hare Yerushalayim, they're either limestone, mostly limestone, dolomite, and there's a lot of fissures. And that's where the aquifers, you get a lot. The coast is easy, but on the mountains, you get a lot into the mountain aquifer. I can look it up. I have an album at home, an atlas at home. That's the geology part. I have to tell you the truth, is probably the one section I skipped when studying for the exams, and I prayed extra hard that morning, and it worked. But I know this is like geologists could go. We had a tour once. I remember. Well, we were down near Eilat. You think I say Eilat, you think of scuba diving. I was for 8 hours out on the mountains listening to geologists just go on and on and on. Okay, but anyway, but I will look it up. It's interesting. So let's just remind ourselves of what our story is. I got Moab, all right? Moab rebels against Malchut Yisrael. Malchut Yisrael joins up with Malchut Yehuda, and then they join up with Edom, and they park themselves on the southern border of Moab, next to Nachal Zered. Moab gets aware of it, and they come and they attack. But when they come to Nachal Zered, they see that the water is red. They think it's blood. So they run into the camp over here, and they get slaughtered. So is this possibly, let's take a look at Nachal Zered, just to understand where we are. Again, there's a map, right? I got a topographic map. This is the tip of the Dead Sea. Yeah, Masada's probably someplace. Here's Masada right over here. I just come around the Dead Sea. Now this, I'm showing you, hopefully it comes out, is a ridge, is a Nachal, a Vadi in between the mountains. This is going to be Moab. This is going to be Edom. And you can see there's like a dip, a cut in the mountains. Let's take a look. Again, if this is Moab, Nachal, Zered, and Edom, this is going to be Moab, the mountains of Moab, mountains of Edom, and this is going to be your natural cut in the mountains, which makes the border. Here, looking from, this is going to be Edom, and this is going to be Moab, and here's Nachal Zered. Very, very deep down there. Okay? So, here's the thing. Is it possible, here's the suggestion. This is a small, like the map, this is probably, let's say, this represents probably about, I guess, like about 40 kilometers. Is it possible, ready? Just like if I'm standing at the Dead Sea, it's raining in Yerushalayim, and I'm 20 minutes down, it doesn't rain by me. Is it possible that it's raining on the top of the mountains of Edom, not raining at Nachal Zered, but the water, take a look at the direction of the mountains, and the water starts rushing down the mountains and fills up the Nachal. Is that possibly what happened? What did Elisha say? You will not see rain, you'll not feel wind, but the Gevim will fill up with water. Sounds like a modern pshat, right? Is that possible? And that's what happened. That's why you didn't see the wind or the rain. So it was rain, but it rained further up here and filled up the Nachal. What's the miracle involved in it? Timing. Elisha says, like, it'll happen tonight. Don't worry about that. God will take care of it. The timing. Yeah? And therefore, but why does it seem red? Sun comes up, there's a certain angle, Rashi says, true. But what's going to make it look even redder? Let's go visit Nachal Zered. Look at this. Well, it's got a reddish tint. Let's have a vote. What do you think? That's when it fills up with water. So these guys are nice and dry, like, look at them, and they're just walking through. It's a beautiful hike. What do you think? A little red? A little more red? How about that? I put a pigment filter, right? Now, Nachal Zered. Possibly. The reflection of the water is off, and they didn't expect that there should be water over there, so they come running in. They think it's blood. Is that possibly what happened over here? So it sounds like a modern pshat. I actually saw Rabbi Elchanan Samet, Rabbi Samet, on his books of Nach. He brings down this pshat. And you ready? So it sounds modernish, but it really is. Look at Rashi. The water began falling from heaven in the morning in the land of Edom, and at the time of the offering of the meal offering in the morning, it came surging into that valley, since the prophet had said, "You shall not see wind, neither shall you see rain." Tanchuma. Sounds like a modernish pshat. It's Medrash Tanchuma. What's Medrash Tanchuma describing over here? Flash flood. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. They knew the land. We know our land. Now we understand it because we know the land because we're back. So that's the beauty of it, and that's how you can see just the knowledge of our land grants us better understandings or alternative understandings of what took place. Red is blood, such as the nature of water. When the sun shines in the morning, appears red at a distance. Yeah, and especially if it's reflecting off a canyon, the Red Canyon. Very, very cool. All right, listen, just a little bit of inspiration before we finish. We're talking about that the waters gather in the rivulets, which become, right? Ka'afikim ba'negev. That's what this is happening. Those little water channels are called afikim, and they gather together to make the flash flood. So Shuva Hashem et Shivitenu, when God's going to bring back the captives of Israel, it's going to be like the rivulets in arid land. Or it's like the afikim in the Negev desert. So what does that look like exactly? Let's take a look. I don't know this guy. He just happened to be in the picture. We got a little bit of water running. And here's again in the Negev. You can see it's growing. It's not complete desert. That's Midbar Yehuda. Water's coming through. And it gathers together, and it becomes even more so. And it's rushing. It becomes a nice rushing water down towards the Dead Sea. Oh, Yefeh. It becomes it's a lot. At some points, it becomes really challenging. And this is only 1991, but this to illustrate the idea of all the Jews coming back into Eretz Yisrael, Kibbutz Golios B'Yameinu, that we get to see in our times. We're all flowing in to Eretz Yisrael, and Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll all hang out there, right, in the hotel, and we should just continue to grow, Be'ezrat Hashem. All right, thank you very much. That's today's lecture. There you go. All right, any questions? You got a minute.
Yeah, were they smart engineers also? They knew what they were doing?
They very well knew what they were doing.
And how? How?
If you go to the Kotel tunnel tour, I work at the tunnels also. They will talk about how did they build? How did Herod build? We have, I think the guy's name is, if I'm not mistaken, Vesuvius, possibly. We have 1st century Roman army engineering textbooks. We have them. They had this stuff. They knew how to, they were great engineers. It goes back to Greece, but they knew it. And we think of them as being primitive. They were very, very smart. We still don't know how they lifted up some of the stones when they rebuilt the walls of the Temple Mount. But they knew it. They knew what they're doing. Yes?
Question. You show the picture, the cliffs, and they were down the bottom with the water. How did the Edomites attack them from that height, and how did they defend themselves? And then
so I'm not sure where they were encamped. It's very possible that they were encamped on top, and I would assume that they were encamped on top, and then at some point, they're going to have to climb down and climb up. Yeah, it's about a 400 for us to Dead Sea. It's about a 400-meter drop, but it's doable. And these people, they're used to walking, right? So I'm sure that there was a path down. Yeah. Alrighty. Thank you very, very much.
You didn't have your students help you carry you up to the top of the summit.
I once was in Nachal Darja. If you have Darja, it's about an 8-hour hike. I was much younger. There's certain places where you gotta go through the water, and it was freezing. It was very thick. I actually, at one point, my students picked me up and walked me through. Because they were young 18-year-olds, and nothing stops them, and I was freezing.
About the composition of the Moab. In the first picture, you see Moab was the split tribe of Menashe. So they were Jewish. What happens then? We start to have wars with them?
Yeah, because